On a previous video, I discussed congruent transformations. I talked about the translation, reflection, and rotation. This time I'm going to talk about dilation. This rule that you see in front of you where XY starts off in the graph or in your problem and then is transformed. If it's dilated, it's going to have a scale factor, which is represented by K. You're going to multiply that K by both your X and your Y coordinates. And for this particular rule, your center is located at the origin, and your origin is 0, 0. So your K is going to be greater than 0 when this is the case. So a quick review. If you are talking about dilation, just think of an eye doctor. When you go to the eye doctor, your eyes are either, they're the normal size pupil. And then once they drop those droplets in, at least for me, my eyes, they get really big. My pupils get big, not my eyes. So that's going to be dilation, enlargement. And the other way is if it's reduced. So if your scale factor is less than 0, then that means it's going to be reducing. So what's happening is your figure is going to change its size, but it's not going to change its shape. So if it is a triangle, it might start off small and then it dilates if it has a larger scale factor that's greater than 0 to something that's bigger, or vice versa. It starts off large and then it reduces. So another thing that I want to review is your pre-image. Pre-image is your original figure, and it's usually shown, it is shown without the prime symbol. So in this example, triangle ABC will be my pre-image. And once it's transformed, it now has that prime symbol. So it's now triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So if I'm looking at example 1, I see that I have 2 figures shown here. So in order for me to determine which one is my pre-image, which is the one I started with, I'm looking for the ones that simply have points that don't have the prime symbol. So that will be the one that's in black. My directions ask me to write a rule for the graph shown in words. But what I think I want to do is go ahead and go to part B first. So for part B, it asks me to find the coordinates of the pre-image and the image. And as you can see, I've already listed the pre-image, which are the points from the black figure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to list the image coordinates. So that's going to be S prime, T prime, U prime, and V prime. So I can just look at it if I know how to read a graph, and I can clearly see that what I'm doing is going 1.5, and then 1, 2, 3 to get to my S prime. So again, that was 1.5, which is 1.5, and I went down 3. So now, if I wanted to know what my scale factor was, and that's what the K is represented by, what I could have done is, based off of what I just did when I was counting, I could see, well, what happened for me to go from 1 to 1.5? Because both of those represented the S point, but one was the original S and the other one is where I transformed or dilated to S prime. So an easy way to do this one is to just take your original X value, 1, and we're going to multiply it times K, since that represents our scale factor, set it equal to, so this is my S. Well, what was S prime? It ended up being 1.5 for my X value, right? So what I want to do is just solve for K. Sorry. So whatever is in front of K, that's what I'm going to divide both sides by. So this one was pretty easy. It's simply itself 1.5. But if I go to Y, it should work the same way because K is simply K. So what I'm going to do is set it up as -2 times the scale factor. And when I figure out what that scale factor is, it's going to take me to S prime for the Y, and that is -3. When I go ahead and simplify and I divide both sides by what's stopping K from being by itself, I again get that same 1.5, which is what should happen. So if I were to test each of those points, I am going to get the scale factor of 1.5. So that allows me to go ahead and finish. I can write a rule for the graph shown in words, which is what part A asked for. But yeah, let me go ahead and do that. So we know it's a dilation because that's what this video is about. We had to figure out the scale factor. So of 1.5, and we also need to know where the center is. So it's about the origin. Examples 1 and 2 will be from the origin, where the center is at the origin, but 3 and 4 will be where the center is not at the origin. So again, what I'm doing is I'm looking at my origin. What did I have to do to get to T? I went over 1, 2, and then up 1, 2. That was my original. So if I took that 2 and I multiplied it times the 1.5 that I just wrote in my rule, what should happen, and this is for both my X value and my Y value. This is my original X for T, and then I'm going to end up with my T prime X value. So 2 times 1.5 is 3. So it's saying that I would have to go over to get to T prime to the right until I get to 3. And then I'm going to go to the Y value, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, which of course is going to be the same thing. So they're both going to be 3. So that tells me that my T prime should be 1, 2, 3 on my X axis, and then up 1, 2, 3 on my Y axis, which it was. So that is what my new coordinates are for my T prime. And all I did was took my X and my Y values and I multiplied it by my scale factor. So I'm going to do that for both U and V as well. So for my T, we said 3 and 3. U prime, once I do the math there, is -3, 4.5. Let's just count it out. 1, 2, 3. That's -3. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So that's where that comes from. And then V is the same concept, -3, +3. So that's how you can actually figure out your dilation. Well, that's one way. The other way is what I usually do actually is I would line up, and this ruler function doesn't work on this video for whatever reason. So I'm going to try to use my own ruler. So if things start going awry. All right, so what I want to do is line up my T and my T prime. Excuse me. It's not going to be a straight line because like I said, the ruler's not really working right. And then I wanted everything, all my points. So my U and U prime, I want to line those up. My V and V prime. And as you can see, where's that center? The center is going through the origin. So that's the easiest way that you can figure out this part. When it's asking you to be descriptive, you want to tell not only the scale factor, but you want to tell, well, where exactly is the center? Is it going to be going through the origin or elsewhere? Let's move on to example 2. So for example 2, let's get rid of that. I went ahead and just reminded you about the quadrants so that if you wanted to check your coordinates later, you can make sure that you're in the right quadrant. So what this is asking us to do is to graph using a dilation of 2.5, but we're still about the origin. So that means we're counting out from the center. So if we started out with -1 and -1 for G, then that means we're going to multiply both that X and Y by that 2.5. So that will give us our new coordinates. So for G prime, I'm going to have, and I apologize if my video's glitchy. It's been doing that lately. -2.5, -2.5. For the H prime, let's see if I can, -2.5 and 0. I prime is going to be 2.5, 2.5. And then finally, J prime is 2.5 and -2.5. So again, if you're trying to figure out where I'm getting this information from, I am taking my original or my pre-image X and my Y, and I'm multiplying it times the scale factor. The scale factor is 2.5. So for J, 2.5 times 1, 2.5. 2.5 times -1, -2.5. So that's all I was doing. If you wanted to verify that that is in fact correct, you want to double check by, well, first let's plot those points. So another way that you can do it is you can count out from your origin. It should be 2.5 times -1 for G. So I know I'm going to go over to the left, -2.5, and then down 2.5. So that's going to be my G prime. And all I'm doing is counting out from the origin. 1, 2.5, 1, 2.5. Okay, that's for the G prime. Then I do the same thing for H prime, which that's going to count out -2.5. And then I'm going to stop at 0. That's H prime. For I prime, I'm going to go to the right 2.5 and then up 2.5. And notice how I am labeling my work so that you don't get confused with what point goes with what. And then finally, J is going to be +2.5 and then go down to -2.5, J prime. And I'm going to try my best again without this ruler to try to connect the points as best I can. The ruler function doesn't work. Okay, so that is what it looks like if I am trying to actually graph and I'm given the scale factor. Again, if I wanted to verify for G prime, that's in quadrant 3. So if I look at my coordinates, I should see a negative and a negative, which I do, and then so on and so forth. For H, that's simply on my x-axis, so whatever number it lands on, which is -2.5, and then it doesn't go up or down, so that's why I have a 0 there. That's what that's going to be. So I prime and J prime, they do have the correct signs. All right, example 3 and 4 will be where the center is not at the origin. So I have to graph this from scratch. Everything is going to be graphed. So let's start with, we'll start with green here. So graph using center of dilation at 5, -4. So that's going to be my center. I'm going to go over 5, -4. That's my center. And then it says that I'm going to have a scale factor of 2. It also gives me my coordinates for my first figure. So let's go ahead and plot that. A is going to be 2 and 1. So this is A. B is going to be 1, -2. And C is 3, -2. So it's not a graph until you actually connect the points. So let's try to do this as best I can. Okay, now I know that I have a scale factor of 2, so I have to keep that in mind. What I am going to do now is I'm going to go back to my center, which is this 5, -4, and I'm going to try to figure out what did it take for me to get to each point. So I'm going to start from A, and then I'm just going to list the coordinates for each one. So it says find the coordinates of the image, and the image, remember, is the resulting figure. So that's going to be A prime, B prime, and C prime. That's what I'm looking for. From my center, I had to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know I had to go up 5, and then I had to go over 1, 2, 3. So that is one scale factor to get to A. So I have to do the exact same thing. I said I went up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to the left 3, 1, 2, 3. So therefore, my new point is going to be at -1, 6. Let me see if you know what, I'm going to have to get rid of everything before I write that out. Otherwise, I'll have all those squiggly lines everywhere. I said -1 and 6. That's going to be my A prime. And then I ask myself, well, what do I have to do to get to B? I have to go up 1, 2. Let's just keep up with that. I'm going up 2, and then I'm going to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. To the left 4. So this is how this is one scale factor. I'm looking for 2. So I have to repeat that process. So I'm going to go up again 2, 1, 2, and then to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my new point there is going to be -3 and 0. You wouldn't have to, I mean, you could just immediately write it down. I just have to get rid of these little squiggly lines. Otherwise, it's going to be in my way. Come on. So that was -3 and 0. And now I want to see, what did I have to do? And that's B prime. What did I have to do to get to C? And that's going to give me C prime once I actually apply the scale factor of 2. So I had to go up 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that means that my new coordinate is going to be 1 and 0. Did you catch that? All right, 1, 0. Let's put that there. And that's my C prime. And again, what you want to do is you want to actually connect the points as best you can. Now, if you want to verify that this is in fact correct, what you want to do, and preferably with a ruler, my ruler is just on the fritz right now. I'll just show you what it says. It says the ruler is coming soon. All right, so what you want to do is line up your A and your A prime. And if it should go straight through that center. You want to do the same with your C and your C prime. Same thing. And then finally B and B prime. And that's how you know that that is the accurate center, even though they already gave you that. But if they didn't give that to you, which is what's going to happen in example 4, that's how you can figure it out. So example 4, last one. You have been given the graph, but now you're asked to find the scale factor, and you're also asked to find the center. So what I would suggest is you would want to see how many units did you start off with horizontally or vertically if you want to. Horizontally, looking at AB, I went over 1, 2.5. So I see 2.5 there. And then A prime to B prime, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. Let's just do vertically also for those people who might want to see how that works. Vertically is up and down. It does not matter if your picture looks like it's diagonal like this one. It doesn't matter. You want to count up and down. So going up and down, looking at BD, 1, 2, 3. So I went down 3. And then B prime to D prime, I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See that? This is where it would be. It would line up there. You just don't have to count diagonally. All right, so that's 9. So it depends how you look at it. If you're looking at, we'll just do B prime, D prime, B prime, D prime. And then we're going to divide that by what we started with, BD. If you did it that way, then it's 9 divided by 3, which is 3. If you chose to use the algebraic method I showed you a few minutes ago, and you start with your original or your pre-image, let's say for AB, and we said for AB it's 2.5, and we want to multiply times the scale factor K, which we don't know what it is. And then what would it result in? It's going to result in 7.5. Well, if you pull out your calculator, you're going to divide both sides by 2.5. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to get that same scale factor of 3. So that's how you do it algebraically as well. So for the scale factor, we know that K is going to be 3. Now, this for me, when I'm trying to find my center, the center is hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my visual representation like I told you a few minutes ago, and I'm going to try, whoa, not to do that. I was trying to lay a ruler over it and it just went crazy. So what I'm going to try to do is align all of my points together, like my A and my A prime, my B prime, so on and so forth, and see where they all intersect. That's what I'm going to try to do, if it lets me. Okay, then I have my D. Uh-oh. Hold on, I got the shaky hands over here. Okay, that's not perfect, but you kind of see where it's trying to go. And then let me try that again. That's not good. And then you want to try also your C prime. And you would have a ruler and paper so it wouldn't be shaky like I am. But you can see what's happening here. This is where they all intersect. So my center is at -7 and -1. But if you just want to verify that it is in fact, hopefully I don't mess up something here. I'm trying to get rid of all of those. All right, so if you really want to verify that that is in fact the case, you want to kind of work backwards. You want to ask yourself, well, what did I have to do originally to get to, I'm just going to use C and A for now. To get from the center to C, I had to go down 1, and then I had to go over 2. Down 1 and over to the right 2. I'm going to be specific. All right, so I said that my scale factor was 3. So if that's the case, I'm going to multiply each of these times 3. And this originally was my C. So my C prime, I should end up going down 3 and over to the right 6. So let's see if that's true. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that is true. So that worked out. Let's try A. So for A, from my center, I had to go up 1, 2. And then I had to go over 1, over to the right 1. And I have to be specific. My scale factor is still 3. So if that's the case, I'm going to have to go up 6 and then over to the right 3 to get to my A prime. So those aren't my coordinates. That's just the directions I have to go. So let's see, I'm going to go up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over 3, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. So sorry about all the glitches and things of that nature, but hopefully you got something from that. And I would appreciate if you subscribe and thumbs up. Have an awesome day.